What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with NIO, Tesla, SPY, and the overall markets. I want to talk about some very key levels to watch for as time goes on, what's happening to the news involving President Trump, what you should be watching for. Just know that I'm not a financial planner. Take nothing I'm saying as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY on invested cash. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as NIO is going, we have kind of like a double top like pattern here. I want to see it reclaim 4.58 to really bounce. Otherwise, we're still looking a little bit weaker. If we do see some kind of rebound here, we could continue to dip back down to that 4.2 area. Now, when it comes to other news, just know that JP Morgan does give us a neutral rating, and the price-price ratio is dipping, showing some weakness at least for the time being. So just keep that in mind. As far as NIO goes, we're getting some bad news involving their earnings. We're still seeing some negative pieces of data coming out about how the share price is dropping. Margins are only at about 12.3%, and we're hoping they improve to 20%. But that may take many months to happen. Their cost-cutting initiatives include a 10% reduction, and this is very normal for many startups like NIO, especially given what's happening with the economy. However, it's going to take a while for them to get their sales up to that 440,000 mark. That's what they're aiming for towards the end of the year. I do believe it's very achievable once we see their next factory to be built, but we have to give it some time. So this is another reminder that NIO is not necessarily a sprint play. It's more of a marathon. To see this thing run, it's going to take a while, and for the short term, it's still looking relatively weak. Now, the broader markets were very bullish. Tech and Nvda, Amazon and retail. If you look at finance, all these different sectors were in the green. Even Tesla was up over 12, almost 12%. So awesome move by the markets. Why did this happen? There's many reasons. President Trump's plans for reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd are expected to be more narrow than previously expected. So keep that in mind. This was some very big news. The news came out from these reports that Trump is no longer to impose sector-specific tariffs on April 2nd. They might just be more specific, if anything. He's not going to go into a very broad range of tariffs, and with less potential tariffs coming out than previously expected, it's got the market more excited. There's also been some news about how Russia and the U.S. delegations are prepared a joint statement that could be coming very soon. President Trump announced that Hyundai is going to be building a new $5.8 billion steel plant in Louisiana, creating nearly 1,500 new jobs. It's a part of the company's $20+ billion U.S. investments. That's going to be huge. Trump said that we made a deal on rare earths, and they're going to sign a big deal very soon. And then there's been other news for Teslas. The FBI is getting involved when it comes to the vandalism that's going on. But anyways, a lot of what President Trump is saying is getting the market excited. That's why we're seeing lots of the indices running. NIO is very weak compared to them for now because of earnings that came out last week. So unfortunately, there is that risk of weakness whether we pump and then start dipping. But then overall, it's another buying opportunity for the long term. For Tuesday, keep in mind that tomorrow is going to be Tuesday at 10 a.m. We have consumer confidence. Not too sure it's going to look too good, so be careful with that. Then we have manufacturing numbers simultaneously coming out, so we'll see what that leads to. Besides that, this data might be significant as the market's at a very tough resistance. We also have some earnings coming out. We have GameStop, Dollar Tree, Chewy, and a few more. And the Fear and Green Index is currently at fear. It's not extremely fearful anymore. We're seeing the market trying to bounce all over these indicators, even the put-to-call option ratio is dipping, and the VIX is continuing to see a move down, which is bullish for stocks. With that being said, what do I see for the charts? The answer is that right now, although NIO may try to retest 4.45, we may continue to downtrend all the way down towards that 4.25 area, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. However, when it comes to SPY and other factors like that, we're looking bullish. We have a bullish wedge here we're trying to break out. We're going to be looking for that 575 area. If that breaks, we're looking for an attempt to get up to about 580. And then if that breaks, I'm looking for essentially 584, very close to our 200 EMA. So those are going to be the levels to watch for. Can we get back above 580 and then eventually hit our 200 EMA? It's very possible if we do break 575. It's going to be a tough level, so we'll see what kind of reaction we get with, consumer sentiment and the manufacturing numbers for tomorrow. But overall, the chart's bullish. Whether we get a small dip first and start to bounce, if we just continue here, 580 is very possible for SPY. The QQQ needs to break past 492. If it does that, we could be looking for a move closer to 500. 495 then 500 become possibilities. If we lose 44, we could turn back down, but we still look quite bullish. On the IWM Russell 2000, we have an inverse head and shoulders like pattern. We could be looking for an attempt to get back up towards that 211 area. For ES, we're looking bullish. We want to see it hold 5,800. If we end up losing essentially 57.50, we could turn back down. But as long as we're above 5,800, we're favoring a push for 58.40. For NQ, we look bullish. As long as we don't end up losing 20,000, we're favoring a move back up to about 20,500. Overall, it's doing a good job. For Bitcoin, we're looking bullish as we're making higher lows right here. I just don't want to see us lose 87,000. As long as we're above this, we're looking for an attempt for 90,000. On Nvda, we look bullish. I would like to see us get back up to 125. As long as we don't end up losing 118, we're looking for an attempt to get higher for this 123 to 125 area. Looks quite good so far. Tesla is trying to retest this yellow trend line above. See this trend line right up here. It's trying to make its way back up. As long as we're above 280, we're favoring a push for almost 300. So now it looks very, very strong. It's going to likely continue. Amazon and Apple both look quite decent. Apple, as long as they're above 220, we're looking for 225 as a target. Let me go over just a few more. Coin is looking good, but I need to see us hold 195 at the very least. As long as we hold that, we're favoring 207. Amazon's looking pretty good. We're looking for essentially 205 as resistance. If that breaks, we could be looking for a push back up for 208. For Meta, so long as we don't end up losing 609, we're looking for an attempt to get back up towards 625. For Microsoft, not looking too good. We might retest the 390 to 388 area before it tries to bounce. Kind of weak here, so it might dip a bit before it tries to see a rebound. Google has a nice inverse head and shoulders here. As long as we don't do 168, we're looking for an attempt to push for 172, so it looks pretty good. For the VIX, it's on a downtrend here, looking kind of weak. This may continue to fall back down to like the 16s, so this is still looking bearish. Good sign for the markets. The dollar is bullish, so it's not really affecting the markets it normally does. So for now, the bulls have a bigger edge. The stock market's looking bullish. We're seeing some temporary relief right now, but things could get complicated once we get to April 2nd when President Trump announces his tariffs. So far, we're at some resistances, but the market does have potential to go higher, so keep that in mind. NIO is relatively weak. We might see a retest of 4.45 before it starts dipping to the 4.2s. And then we'll see if we bounce off that or not, but we're very close to basing. I do think NIO is going to base soon. And once that happens, it's going to be a lot better for us to see some kind of bounce. With that being said, I want to thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back with another upload for tomorrow. Until then, just know that the market is showing some life and NIO's time is not here yet. I really believe that there's going to be a very, very big amount of upside coming going into the long term, especially once they get to profitability, which they're not that far away from, right? 1 year, they're about a year away, a year and a half away from that. Depending on the timing, they're going to get closer to it next year. And when they get to profitability, it's going to be massive. They're not that far away, guys. 1 year is not going to take that long. I know a lot of investors are waiting, but as a lot of people start to accumulate shares down here, whether in the 4s or even the 3s, it's going to be worth it when you see these gaps start to fill. There's a lot of upside potential once we start to fill imbalances. Lots of gaps. You have gaps left in the 20s, the 30s, even like the 40s. There's so many gaps left. So I think that's going to be very key for the way we end up moving. So going back, let me just double check this. Let me just look at this. So we have this resistance right here around 27. We have other resistances up above. So keep that in mind. There's also this like gap to fill up here around the, the 50s, the 60s. We will eventually run there, guys, in many, many years. So buying shares long term is not a bad idea. It will pay off over the next couple of years. For the short term, yes, we're still relatively weak. We're undervalued. But when this starts running, that's when people get interested in the share price. That's the thing about a lot of these retail investors. They're not interested in the stock when it's dipping to these very, very good values, these very, very good buy zones. But then once it starts running, everyone starts pouring in. So just want to give you guys some insights about that. Anyways, that's it for my video. I thank you all so much for listening. Please have a good rest of your day and peace out.